Hey parents, happy Teenager Tuesday. Welcome back. We just got done with a series that's been so good, helping my student or students grow in confidence that Tisha and Stephanie have been walking through us with. Today is going to be a quicker episode that is really just focused on helping your family, better setting up your family to set goals as a family. We're kind of running into the summer. I know normally this goes into January or end of December, you start thinking about goals. But I really love going into kind of a downtime, a time when there's no school or seniors graduating, or it's just kind of a transition time. And transition times are sometimes the best time to set goals and to go after them as a family. Now, before we get to what those keys are, some just 6 tips on setting goals as a family, I do want to kind of talk about the why of it. According to the University of Missouri, they did research that indicates that families who establish both short-term and long-term goals are more likely to achieve goals in life in general. They're more likely to, those people as a part of that family in life are more likely to achieve goals in the future. Families, they said this, families who set goals and then manage those overall families who set goals and manage the success of those goals, those students' finances overall are better than families who set no goals. So for nothing else, set goals as a family to better set up your students' financial life down the future. Donald Miller, in one of my favorite books, 1,000 Miles in a Million Years, he tells a story about when this family was having a hard time with their teenager, and it just wasn't good, and their teenager was like dating the wrong people, making all these terrible decisions. And the author gave this parent this advice. He said, well, I think that the world is telling a better story than your family. And so the family decided, okay, let's tell a better story as a family. We're going to set this crazy goal to raise money and build an orphanage in this country. I think it was this country in Africa or Asia, something like. They were going to build a orphanage. And at first the family was like, the kids were like, we're not going to reach this goal. But through the process of diving after this financial goal to build an orphanage for kids who need it, this family unit just came back together. They gained so much trust for each other, and they achieved this goal of building this. And the dad brings it all back to, I'm so glad that we told a better story as a family. So the big question, again, if nothing else, maybe you don't set a goal as a family, or these tips aren't helpful for you. I think this question will be, which is this: what story are we telling as a family? For you as an individual, we tell stories, we have this narrative in our mind, whatever, but as a family, what story are we communicating to each other, for each other, and through our family unit? What story are we telling as a family? Now let's get to the keys. Here are 6 keys to setting family goals. The first one is focus them around a family value. Kind of ask the question, how would this accomplish a family value by reaching this goal? You know, it's this we want to work on these short-term goals, but for long-term values, how would this goal speak into a value that we have as a family? And maybe you don't have family values kind of articulated. I would encourage you to do that and then set goals around them. So number 1, focus them around family value. Number 2 is going to sound weird, but let me explain. Body, soul, and mind. Body, soul, mind. Body, soul, mind. We set so many expectations for ourselves around our body, around our soul, and not always around our mind. That's probably the one that's probably further down intellectually. But like in Matthew, you know, when Jesus says the greatest commandment is this: love the Lord your God with all your body, soul, heart, mind, right? And then he goes on to say, the second is equal to this, right? Is equal, which is love your neighbor as yourself. Like that's where that's coming from. But the idea of like body, soul, mind, like are we loving God with each one of those areas? Maybe pick one area, maybe pick one of each throughout the year. You know, there's 12 months, so maybe you pick a goal of like, all right, for the next 4 months, we're going to focus on our mind and how can we grow intellectually and that kind of thing. As a family, we often think about our soul and spiritual life, but how often do we tackle the healthy habits intellectually and physically as a family as well? Number 3, make sure you use the SMART method. SMART method It is this for your goals. If you don't know the SMART method, Google it. There's a lot of research around it and a lot of people that have written blogs and different articles about it too. I'll tell you, it's an acronym that stands for specific. Make your goal specific. M, make your goal measurable. A, make it action based so you can do something with it. R, make it realistic. Make it realistic. Is it realistic for us to do? Is it shooting too high? Is it shooting too low? Is it right in the sweet spot? And then the T is timely. Time. Have a beginning, have an end. Make sure you have enough time to do it. Again, the SMART method. If you've never done the SMART method for a goal, it is very, very helpful to kind of digest and come up with it. Number 4, come up with it together. Now, this is kind of a thing where you set the tone of like, we will do a goal with our mind, say we're going to do a goal with our soul or spiritually. We're going to do a goal with our body, what we eat, whatever. We're going to do a giving goal or a sacrifice, a fasting goal, whatever it is. You come up with the tone of it and the expectation that it will happen. However, you can get their input on what it looks like with the details, right? You can say, hey, we want to eat healthier as a family. How can we make this a goal? And then walk through the SMART method with your kids. Obviously you and your spouse. If you're married, like y'all would kind of talk about this beforehand, but then as a family unit, you can walk through and build this together. And now if they're like super averse to it or they're just not having it, I would say at the very least, try to come up with it together before just kind of writing them off. Like they got this, you got this, it's in them, and it's something new. So it might be a little bit hard at the beginning to kind of make it happen, but I promise you can. Number 5, repeat, and then repeat it one more time. What gets repeated gets rewarded. What we repeat gets rewarded. It is memorable. For us, we have a family value, which is we do hard things together. That's one of our family values is we do hard things together. And our daughter's not even 1 year old, but we're saying that between me and my wife all the time because it's a family value. We want that to be remembered and we want it to be a value of us. On my phone, I have every day at 7 a.m., I have a reminder go off that says Holy Five. And I put that on repeating every single day so that what is on my mind all the time is that have I spent 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes in God's word, praying with God, journaling with God? Have I spent time in my car focused on God? I want it to be repeated over and over and over again so that it's reminded. So that I'm reminded over and over and over again, because what's on your mind all the time eventually is the direction of your life as well. And if it's heading the right direction, that is a good reward and a good life for us. So number 5 is repeat, and repeat it again. Number six, have a celebration at the finish line. Have a celebration of the goal. Whether you talk about that celebration at the very beginning, whether you kind of think about how you can celebrate throughout, definitely have an end date for a goal. We don't have an end date for habits, but we do have end dates for goals. Those things are kind of different, but goals can breed habits. So it's good to have goals and it helps us work on getting healthier habits, but have a celebration at the finish line for it. It adds urgency. Having a finish line adds this urgency, but then it's good not to just finish and to high five, but finish, go out for bowling and a movie night, and we're going to get this meal, whatever. When we finish, we're going to do this at home. We're going to celebrate. I don't know what the celebration can look like. It can look like a million different things, but the big thing is have a celebration. We celebrate birthdays every year, and we don't even do anything to get the celebration for birthdays is kind of funny to me because you didn't do anything but stay alive. But we celebrate, you did it, you're breathing, every year. I know it's more of we're thankful that you're still around. I get that. But we have celebration for things that aren't as necessarily big of a deal or as hard hard have worked on, I guess. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining that if we work really hard on something, it is good to celebrate. One of my favorite books, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, he talks about how in habits, there has to be a reward of the habit for the habit to get repeated. So at the end of a goal, if we have a reward that gives dopamine, that gives this memory and gives this experience, then it's much more likely that the members of our family or family as a whole would repeat a good goal that we've worked very hard on. So again, those are the tips, parents. The big question for today is what story are we telling you? My gosh, what story, big tip, what story are we telling as a family? And number one, tips for this is focus the goal around a family value. Number two, body, soul, and mind. Number three, use the SMART method. Number four, come up with the details together, come up with it together. Number five, repeat, and then repeat it. And number six, have a celebration at the finish line. Always remember, parents, you can do this. You're not alone. God is with you, and so are we. Have a great week.